Is your motivation tank running on empty? The hidden fuel that changes everything. If you're struggling to stick with goals, this episode is for you. Motivation is a feeling that drives you toward a goal. Discipline is the ability to take action regardless of how you feel. Successful people don't have more motivation than others. They've just developed systems that don't rely on motivation. I've got 7 practical motivation hacks you can start using today that'll make a real difference. They helped me finally finish my book after 3 years of starting and stopping, and they might just be the missing piece in your motivation puzzle, too. Have you ever been super pumped to start something new? Maybe a diet, a workout plan, or learning to play the guitar, only to find your enthusiasm fizzling out faster than a cheap sparkler. One minute you're excitedly buying fancy running shoes, and the next you're using them to reach things on top of the shelf of your closet. Or maybe you've experienced the classic New Year's resolution effect. January 1st, you're all in. January 15th, what resolution? If you're nodding along, then you're in good company. The gap between wanting to do something and actually doing it consistently is practically a universal human experience. And it's not because you're lazy, undisciplined, or lacking character. It's because most of us fundamentally misunderstand how motivation actually works. Here's the big revelation that changed everything for me. Motivation isn't something you wait for or something you're born with. It's something you strategically create, like a relationship. Let me tell you about my motivation journey. 3 years ago, I decided to write a book, something I dreamed about since I was 10 years old. I cleared my schedule, set up the perfect writing space, bought beautiful notebooks, and felt super motivated for about 2 weeks. Then reality hit. Some days I'd stare at my computer screen for hours, writing and deleting the same paragraph, and on other days I suddenly discovered that organizing my spice rack was absolutely urgent and couldn't possibly wait until after my writing session. And many days I didn't even show up at all because I wasn't feeling motivated. Sound familiar? My breakthrough came, though, when I stopped treating motivation like a prerequisite for action and starting seeing it as a result of my action. This flip in perspective changed everything, and it might just change everything for you too. So, what exactly is motivation from a psychological perspective? It's the internal process that initiates, guides, and maintains goal oriented behaviors. In simpler terms, it's the energy that moves you towards what you want. But here's where most of us get it wrong. We think motivation comes before action, when science shows that action often comes before motivation. Thank you for hanging out on the couch and helping us grow. If you haven't already, go ahead and push that subscribe button and the bell for notifications of future episodes. Your support means the world to me. So let's talk about the 2 main types of motivation that drive our behavior. The brain detectives with their fancy lab coats and clipboards call these intrinsic motivation and extrinsic motivation. Intrinsic motivation comes from within. You do something because it feels good, it's interesting, or it's personally meaningful. Like when you get lost in a hobby you love and time seems to disappear. Extrinsic motivation comes from outside factors, rewards, praise, avoiding punishment, or gaining status. Like when you clean your house because guests are coming over, not because you suddenly fell in love with mopping. Now, most of us think we need to feel motivated before taking action. We wait for inspiration to strike, for that magical feeling of, I really want to do this right now. But there's a problem with this approach. Feelings are inconsistent and unreliable. If we only acted when we felt like it, we'd never accomplish anything meaningful. This insight takes us back to our caveman days. Those early humans didn't wait until they felt motivated to hunt for food or build shelter. They took action because survival demanded it. And guess what? The action itself generated the motivation to continue. Some psychologists would point out that waiting for motivation is often a convenient excuse. It allows us to avoid the discomfort of starting without actually admitting we're afraid to begin. Just a friendly reminder, this is not professional advice. just good old psychology and personal stories. Take what resonates with you and leave the rest. So let me tell you about my friend Marcus. Marcus wanted to run a marathon, a big stretch for someone whose previous running experience was limited to catching the ice cream truck as a kid. He bought all the gear, downloaded training plans, and told everyone about his goal. But every morning, his alarm would go off and he'd think, I'm not feeling it today. I'll start tomorrow when I'm motivated. After 2 months of tomorrows, Marcus realized he needed a different approach. That's when he discovered what I choose to call the 2-minute rule. Instead of waiting to feel motivated to run, Marcus committed to just putting on his running shoes and stepping outside for 2 minutes every morning. Just 2 minutes. No pressure to actually run. Some days he'd stand on his porch for 2 minutes and go back inside, but most days, once he was outside with his running shoes on, he'd think, well, I'm already here, and ended up running. The action created the motivation, not the other way around. 6 months later, Marcus completed his marathon. Not because he woke up motivated every single day, but because he stopped using not feeling motivated as a reason to not start. Okay, friend, it's time to start practicing a new instrument. Your old, waiting for motivation song isn't getting you to your goals. Here are 7 practical strategies to generate motivation when you're not feeling it. Number 1, use the 5-second rule. When you feel like hesitating before acting on a goal, count 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, then move physically. Meaning, get up from the chair where you're sitting at and moving 3 to 5 feet from there. This interrupts the habit of overthinking and hesitation. I use this every morning to get out of my cozy bed. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, feet on the floor, no debate allowed. Number 2, lower the barrier of expectation. Make the first step ridiculously small. Don't commit to a 1-hour workout. Commit to putting on your workout clothes. Don't commit to writing a chapter. Commit to opening your document and writing 1 sentence or 2. Once you start, continuing is much easier. Number 3, connect to your why. Why are you doing this? Try to answer that question and it might serve as a motivator. Number 4, design your environment. Like putting my phone in another room during writing sessions and set my coffee and notebook out the night before. Your environment shapes your actions more than willpower ever could. Number 5, use implementation intentions. Create specific if-then plans. For example, if it's 7 a.m., then I'll write for 30 minutes before checking email. This bypasses the decision-making process that often derails our motivation. Number 6, harness momentum through streaks. Track your consistency visually. I used a simple wall calendar, marking each day I wrote with a big red X. After a few days, the desire to keep the streak alive became a powerful motivator. I believe it was Jerry Seinfeld who famously used this "don't break the chain" method to write jokes every day. And number 7, celebrate small wins. Acknowledge and celebrate your progress, no matter how tiny. Your brain releases dopamine when you recognize accomplishment, creating a positive feedback loop that fuels continued action. I would literally do a little happy dance after each writing session. Thankfully, there's no video evidence. The beautiful thing about these strategies is that they don't require you to feel motivated. They create motivation through your action. For me, the game changer was strategy number 2, lowering the barrier to entry. I stopped pressuring myself to write brilliantly for hours and instead committed to writing 1 paragraph each day. Just 1. It could be terrible, but I had to write it. Most days, that 1 paragraph would lead to several pages as momentum built. And on days when it truly was just 1 paragraph, I still counted it as a win because I showed up for myself. Consistency trumped perfection every time. Another insight that revolutionized my approach was understanding the difference between motivation and discipline. Motivation is a feeling that drives you toward a goal. Discipline is the ability to take action regardless of how you feel. the emotion experts with their research studies suggest that successful people don't have more motivation than others. They've just developed systems that don't rely on motivation. They understand that motivation naturally ebbs and flows, so they build habits and routine that carry them through the low points. This brings me to the surprising motivation trigger I promised to share: identity-based commitments. Most of us approach motivation with outcome-based thinking. I want to lose weight or I want to write a book. But the most powerful motivational shift happens when you focus instead on identity. I am a healthy person, or I am a writer. When I stopped trying to write a book and started seeing myself as a writer, someone who writes consistently, even when it's hard, everything changed. My actions began to align with this identity. Writers write, so I wrote. It wasn't always great writing, but it was always writing. And guess what? That book I struggled with for 3 years, I finished it in 4 months once I made this identity shift. Not because I suddenly had more time or talent, but because I stopped waiting for motivation and started acting like the writer I wanted to be. All right, that's it for today's episode of Couch Tales: Why We Do What We Do. I'm your host, Analia. If you like this episode, take a moment to follow us, push that subscribe button, and share this episode with a friend. Drop a comment about your motivation struggles and success. I'd love to hear what's working for you. Until next time, friend, stay curious, stay kind, and remember, motivation follows action, not the other way around. Click here for more episodes.